Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I'm your host, GameChanger. Okay, so let me start the short video, give everybody a chance to come through. Hit that like button on your way in. Here we go.
Hi.
Hey, I was wondering, you single?
Yeah. So am I. What's going on? You trying to have fun?
I'm good.
No, I'm good. I'm Come. You want to have fun, baby? Oh, yeah. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to watch it again. So, guy sees girl. Now, got to point out that there's a reason that they showed this woman from behind first. There's a reason that they showed her behind. They put her behind in the front. Her asset is her best asset. He drops his garbage in the middle of the hall, and it's carpet. That's kind of nasty, but yeah. Then he walks up to shoot his shot.
Hi.
Hey, I was wondering, you single?
Yeah. So am I. What's going on? You trying to have fun?
So he goes to hit on one girl, and then another girl comes. And he's all of a sudden not interested in this girl versus this girl.
I'm good.
No, I'm good. Come. You want to have fun, baby? Oh, yeah. Come on.
Now, here's the problem with this. The funny thing about this, and the reason why I selected it, because the funny thing about this is that it's not funny. And it's not funny for a very key reason. And that is the woman who was aggressively pursuing him and grabbing him and trying to bring him into the room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, wasn't attractive. In fact, in my opinion, she was attractive. She wasn't ugly, is what I meant to say. And in my opinion, she's more attractive than the one that he actually was pursuing. So it really didn't make any sense. Because the one that he was pursuing, you know, the camera, as you can see, started off showing off the booty, showing off that booty. But you see, he's coming from an angle where he didn't get to see the booty. He didn't get to see the booty. So he didn't even get to see her best asset. He just seen her from the front, and from the front, she's okay. And then when a more attractive woman grabs him and takes him, he's like, "Oh no, I'm cool." Yes. See, here's the thing. Kevin Murray. I thought the other chick was butch. Yes. Yes, she is. And she still looks good. And that's the problem. That's the problem for her and this dynamic and this delusion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because I've seen her on other videos, and she is that way by natural personality. However, she is attractive, and she's not ready to forego that. Here's let me show you what I mean.
Hi.
Okay, so this one here, you know, average size breasts, and you know, she got the big chop and she got the tattoos and stuff.
Hey, I was wondering, you single?
Yeah. So am I.
Now this one right here, she though she wears the baggy clothes and stuff like that, she kept the hair. And she's probably not tatted up all over the place. And if she is, it's probably a pretty feminine tattoo. And the reason for that is because she's not ready to give up pretty privilege in exchange for, this whole butch lifestyle in exchange for the number of women that will come her way because they are attracted to masculinity in a feminine frame. She's not ready to give that up. She's going to continue to maintain her pretty privilege, which is why this whole skit is wrong. Yeah, if they really did like a what's her name? What's that chick that played on Night Court named Marsha Warfield or something like that? Or Leslie Jones. Like, yeah, Leslie Jones would have been perfect for this skit. Or Wanda from In Living Color. Shout out to Jamie Foxx. That would have been perfect for this skit. But stop trying to pretend like you look like a regular butch. You have not went through the change. You haven't. Let me see what's next. All right, it's music. I'm not gonna play that. All right. So, nevertheless, don't forget she's light skinned. Yeah, but the other chick is light skinned too. And she did the whole hair thing, walk around in workout attire and the tattoos and stuff. So it's hard to jump in and out. It's hard to jump in and out to receive benefits of both worlds. And the other chick, she's not ready to cut that long, curly, light-skinned, textured hair. She's not ready to do that. So she put a beanie on, and we supposed to all of a sudden think that she's butch, and we was who here gonna run away? Who here gonna run away if that other chick came and said, oh, I'm single too, and just grabs you up into the house, and you just running away, and she just grabbing you? Who gonna do that? That skit didn't make no damn sense. All right, now to the topic at hand. Let me bring up that dear future wifey thing. So the first minute I'm gonna do on the thing, that I'm gonna stop, and then I'm gonna do it again. So hit the like button when you come in. Hit that like button. All right, so let me go to his story. Ooh. Wait a minute. Actually, I'm going to do another short. This came up on my feed. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm curious. So I'm going to tell you why I'm curious. Because of that booty right there. Now you see the you can't see it on the left glute, but you can see it on the right glute, and that is the upside down anchor. The upside down anchor effect, which is what makes a booty a booty. You have the line that comes down the crack, and then you have this should curve up. This should curve up, kind of like the letter U. If you get a perfect letter U, that's fine, but an anchor curve up is sufficient, and it's tone. Now I'm gonna play it. Keep in mind, I haven't seen this before, so bear with me. Yeah. This is crap. This is crap, and I'm gonna tell you why it's crap. Look at this chick. Women, your arms should never be bigger than Angela Bassett's arms. I repeat, your arms should never be bigger than Angela Bassett's arms. What you are doing is too damn much man stuff. You're doing too much man stuff in the gym. That's a waste of good booty. You are doing too much man stuff. Focus on the areas that make women when you go to the gym. What's with the biceps? And the problem is that men do stuff. Men focus on their upper body. They focus on their biceps and their chest. Now, the thing is that about that is that to develop pecs, and this is true for you big brothers out there, in order to develop pecs, the pecs is going to eat away at the boobies. It's going to eat away at the titty matter. It is. Now, that's a good thing if you're a guy. If you're one of those guys that just happens to have man boobs or something like that, then you want to do that so you can eat away at that man boobie. But you don't want to eat away at the woman boob, which is what she did. I'm sorry, but from the front, you look good. From behind, but behind looking good. You did too much. This is Jim gone wrong. Hit the like button. All right, now let me go to history. Play the first minute. Here we go. Dear future wifey. All right. Hit that like button while y'all come in. Now, I have to give it to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. The set is immaculate. The camera quality is immaculate. So, yeah, kudos to both those things. That is just spectacular. I don't agree with his views, but I salute to his production value. All right. Fair use.
Again, that's kind of whenever she found out through the videos and stuff like that. Now, how she told me she found out, I'm not sure exactly if this is it, but she went and got a new phone. It was logged into my Google Cloud because we have been logged into each other's email, and that allowed her to see everything. And I'm like, again, I'm kind of freaky. So I was recording a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was just recording a lot of stuff. I like to see it or whatever. I like that better than porn, to TMI. But
you say you like to see yourself.
I like to see myself. I'm inspired by me in that regard. So she saw all of that. And regardless of how she found it, man, I just was like, it's like, what the F am I thinking? She's pregnant and she had to see that.
Love is a treasure chest, but once you find it,
I knew several other women via us.
Let's hear us all we feel. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? If you're still shacking up with us, come on, can we get a commitment? Hit that subscription button and
okay. I'm gonna wait. Shacking up is an implicit commitment, but I'm not even gonna touch that one. I am gonna say that she's seen the video. Okay, so from her point of view of the story, she's seen his video. She went into his, self porno stash, his sex tape stash, what have you. She got into that. And the way she took it was she was looking for ways to improve her sexual performance for him. So it really didn't work out as bad as he was making it seem.
subscribe.
Kevin said, I like to see myself. I don't actually like to see myself. The few sex tapes that I have made are like those porns, those POV porns, where you just see the girl and you don't see yourself. So yeah, that's I don't know. It just takes away from it. I mean, because instead of for help, like I don't look at myself while I'm doing it, so I'm not like reliving the moment. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I'm not wired that way. All right, hit that like button. Okay, I had to go here instead. Why is it not? Oh, that's why. Okay. All right. Fair use. Fair use.
Through the videos and stuff like that. Now, how she told me she found out, I'm not sure exactly if this is it, but she went and got a new phone. It was logged into my Google Cloud because we have been logged into each other's email, and that allowed her to see everything. And I'm like, again, I'm kind of freaky. So I was recording a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was just recording a lot of stuff. I like to see it or whatever. I like that better than porn, to TMI. But
You say you like to see yourself.
I like to see myself. I'm inspired by me in that regard. So she saw all of that. And regardless of how she found it, man, I just was like, it's like, what the F am I thinking? She's pregnant and she had to see that.
Love is a treasure chest, but once opened, our hearts become vulnerable.
I went back to Vegas. It was this guy. He appeared as a friend. Sure enough, it led to infidelity.
Alignment. Let's make sure that you rate this video and leave a comment. That's how people hear about us. Thank y'all so much for making a Dear Future Wifey podcast consistently top 10 in relationships on Apple Podcasts. I thank y'all so much. Today's episode, as we talk about tough topics in season 7, this is a person y'all been wanting to have on the podcast. This brother needs no introduction. We're going to jump right on into it. This will be a 2-part series. I'll run both of them consecutively one day after the next. So without further ado, welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. My new homie, Derrick Jackson.
What's going on, brother?
Derrick, listen, man, people been saying, when are you going to come on the podcast?
When I'm going to come on any podcast up until recently.
So what made you decide to go do it?
I'm not really big on coming and doing interviews and talking about myself, but this one is a little bit different because it involves, things that kind of hit closer to home. So I felt like I could contribute something to the conversation. If it's going to be had, I think it's best if it's had with both sides of us.
This one kind of hits closer to home. It's actually hitting your home. It's in your home. This is a discussion of what's going on in your home.
Story, and one day whenever my children do see mommy and daddy talking about this, I want them to see where we both stand and hopefully how we both resolve things. So that was it, man.
You say mommy and daddy. So your ex-wife or current wife, I know y'all going through whatever y'all going through, Danaia was on the podcast. A lot of times people, when I did the episode, I was laughing a lot on the episode. She has this funny wit. She has this I said this little Seinfeld humor.
Yeah.
Was that something that attracted you to her at the very beginning?
Yeah, she had a sense of humor since the beginning, man. You wouldn't think it because she's kind of an introvert.
Right.
So she does.
So y'all met in business calc, and she was enamored by your looks, even though she admitted that she was not in the best shape and she was not the most attractive. And you say that you was enamored by her wit. I call cap. I think that you was and only was enamored by the fact that she had a vagina.
Doesn't feel comfortable talking to new people often. At least she didn't, or in big groups. But like once she gets comfortable or when she feels like she can trust you, she opens up and she's hilarious.
and so that's what happened in my pre-interview with her. I was talking to her. I was like, this girl is hilarious. This girl is funny. So we did on the episode. A lot of people's like, they're talking about serious stuff and they're laughing about it. Why are they? And she was like, Lateris, if you weren't laughing, I wouldn't have been able to do 2.5 hours of an interview with you. It'd have been too heavy. I like the fact that you got my humor. And I said, I bet you that's something that Derrick found attractive in her at the very beginning.
Among other things, man. Yeah. For sure.
We say other things like what?
Man, first off, when I first saw her, all I knew was what she looked like. Right. So pretty face, nice shape, all that stuff. But I like that she was kind of like me in terms of like when you look at her, she's not the stereotypical thick, cute black girl, at least, this at 19 years old.
Right.
And when people looked at me, they felt like, oh, he's a jock. And, I think you said that in the interview, matter of fact, which is not bad. But, at the time I was fighting a lot and stuff like that. But
you said you were fighting a lot?
Yeah, man. I was just, knucklehead, man. It's 19 years old. But beyond the surface, though, I'm a lover. I'm kind of soft. I like R&B music. I read romance novels at this point. I write poetry.
You was doing that at 19?
19 years old, man. So like that version of me that's like, okay, it's not what you see is not.
This dude, he wasn't reading no damn poetry or nothing like that. You are chronically behaving as if Booty is listening. See, people like to say stuff like that, like, like, oh yes, I'm so deep and there's more to me than what you see on the surface. No, that is bullshit. You was not reading poetry. You basically, what you're trying to do, and I'm not really knocking him for this, is he's trying to cover all bases of interest that a woman might have. So some women are into, most women, many women are into, like big muscle dudes. He's like, okay, I'm gonna check that box. And some women are into the, the men with sensitivity. He's checking that box too. He just comes on to try to check as many boxes as he can so he could check your box. And by yo, I'm talking to the females that are listening, not
necessarily what you get. It's the exact same thing with her. She's not stereotypical. She's like taekwondo and, Justin Timberlake and stuff you wouldn't necessarily think, man. But all of that is what drew me to her. It's like my authentic self just felt safe and at home with her.
How do you feel today? I want to check on you as a man. How do you feel as a man?
I feel really good, man. Better every day, but I feel like it's a lot of gratitude these days.
A lot of people wouldn't be able to identify with what you may go through on an emotional standpoint, especially have created a platform as large as you created,
Mm-hmm.
and then feel the world turn on you. How did you internalize that?
Honestly, man, being everybody's favorite ain't really been my portion my whole career. I mean, at some point, now it's more legitimate because it's behind something I actually did. But in the very beginning, I knew pissing some people, I'm trying to talk crazy. Pissing some people off was going to be a price I was going to have to pay.
You knew that at the very beginning.
Very beginning. And then, before all of this, there was some like false rumors. At one point, people thought Danaia was white because I showed a picture briefly. I posted my baby girl, my first daughter, Marley, and her hand was wrapped around my finger. And it was so light skinned. They said, oh, he only dates white women. And I lost followers. I'm talking about it was going viral, all the YouTubers. So, honestly, man, since then, I already knew, like, okay, people online, they're going to have their thoughts or what have you, and you can't see yourself through that lens. So
Now, I do believe that, which is strange, because I would assume, I'm willing to bet, that he lost more followers as a person who cheats on Black women than he did and would have as a person who had a child with a white woman. See, nothing else matters to a Black woman but to have their beauty validated. They don't care what's going on, they don't care. No matter what you do, as long as you're with a Black woman at the end of the day, then they're cool with you.
really haven't internalized that so much.
A lot of times people, I saw my brother, Willie Moore Jr., he posted a snippet of you about an interview that you were doing with him. That's when this dropped, that would have dropped 3 days ago. And I read the comments. It was like, why are you giving this brother a platform? Why would you do this? And all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And first, when I read it, I was like, now if I do this interview with them, are they going to feel the same way? I was like, no, like you said, it's a more balanced approach. I had danaia on here. It's only fair to have you on here as well, but not even on that. But even in 2020, you checked your DMs. I reached out to you before all this stuff started imploding.
One of the few.
Yeah. And I reached out to you because I always want to have conversations with Black men, because in the, from your platform standpoint, the stuff that you were telling and helping Black women with was facts. It was no lies told.
Yeah.
What a lot of men took gripe about is that they like, oh, not only are you telling the secrets or whatever, but they kind of felt like you were pandering to Black women for your benefit. What would you say about that?
Well, we kind of have this bro code, and it's got us in the chokehold. You know, and the bro code is all about having a man's side no matter what. Yeah. No matter if we wrong or what have you. And I think personally is
that's not really what the bro code is. It's not. In some cases that may be part of it, but it really means having a man's side. Okay, put it like this. Don't sleep with the homie sister. That's part of bro code, especially if you're a player. You know, don't do that without the homies. That has nothing to do with like having the homies back no matter what. Calling out ill behavior is not that. So, yeah, he's okay. What he's trying to do now, and this is more of his pandering, is he's saying that men are innately wrong. And they created a brotherhood to cover up their wrongdoings. When really what he's describing is a sisterhood, to keep it a buck. I mean, when are women ever accountable for their actions ever? And when do they hold each other accountable for their actions ever? Like people like Sweet Melody Speaks, Chantel Simone, Danica Marie, you know, these women, they have almost completely male following. I repeat, they have almost completely male following. And the reason for that, the reason why the women aren't gravitating towards these women is because they are going against sisterhood code. They are outside of sisterhood code, meaning no matter what you say or do, you are not to be held accountable. So he's really projecting.
It's created a generation of coddled men that can't take correction from anybody, no matter how soft it is or balanced it is. So when I'm saying all of this, you know, of course, there's different layers to it. Some of them think, oh, it's because he wants vagina, because he wants money or what have you. But man, I was raised by a single mother around two sisters. Naturally, I lean towards the woman's point of view on things. Anything else will be disingenuous.
And you're not holding the women in your life accountable. Have you ever held your single mother accountable? Your two sisters accountable for anything? Or were you taught to acquiesce to their desires from birth?
And it's not that everything that I'm saying is necessarily right, but it's how I see things. And then if you take from that, just say, you know, your interview with Danaia, you were speaking in a way that was protective as her brother, you know, empathetic. You was calling wrong. That wasn't you pandering.
Right.
You know, you like per the situation that you speaking on, this is the truth.
Right.
But whenever you telling a truth that makes people uncomfortable or a truth that's not popular, they're going to look for a way to attack you either way it go.
I can respect that. I asked you, I said, Derrick, if you were given the opportunity to name this episode, what would you name it? And what did you say?
Reap what you sow.
Why? Why'd you say that?
I think whenever I've talked about these different rules and what have you, some people take from it like, okay, he's promoting perfection. We're going to mess up sometime. And my whole MO has been like, okay, if you're going to mess up, you just got to understand that come with consequences. You reap what you sow. Even whenever I started mentioning God, I gave my life to Christ February 4th, 2020. And people were like, oh, you can't bring God into.
Who had your life before that? February 4th, 2020 is, wait, hold on. Let me make sure I got the year right.
To it, I'm like, the God I serve said.
Derrick, if you were given the opportunity to name this episode, what would you name it? And what did you say?
Reap what you sow.
Why? Why'd you say that?
I think whenever I've talked about these different rules and what have you, some people take from it like, okay, he's promoting perfection. We're going to mess up sometime. And my whole MO has been like, okay, if you're going to mess up, you just got to understand that come with consequences. You reap what you sow. Even whenever I started mentioning God, I gave my life to Christ February 4th, 2020. And people were like, oh, you can't.
Yeah, that was like 3 years ago. Yeah, who had your life before that? So, first of all, you gave your life to Christ and then you filed for divorce. Okay, now that I am a holy Christian man and I have given myself to the Lord, first thing I'm going to do is I am going to dishonor the agreement that I had with the Lord. Yes, now that I am a child of Christ, I am going to disobey my father. Now, he admit that, you know, everything he did before then was just hedonism. And everything he continued to do now, because like the adultery happened after he's given his, you know, life to the Lord. You see, here's the reason why he said this. The reason why he said this is because, and this is a problem with the Protestant religion, in my opinion, the ability to repent and forgiveness. I'm not saying that a person shouldn't forgive, a person shouldn't be forgiven or have the ability to be forgiven. But what's happening now is the same with these born again virgins and stuff. People feel that all of their past transgressions can go ignored as long as you invoke the God card. Like, I want everything I did in the past to be forgotten because I wasn't saved then, but I am now. So yeah. Hit the like button.
Bring God into it. I'm like, the God I serve says you reap what you sow. And I'm no exception. Even as I'm saying it, I'm living it too.
Yeah.
And that goes both good and bad. But, I think if we're all aware of that, we can walk according to that instead of thinking we get it out because we had our intentions or what have you. For the time I spent in my patterns and the things that I'm not proud of, I gave myself an out. I gave myself excuses. Well, I felt like this and she did that. And I wasn't operating according to where you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Not what's sown by your partner, not what's sown by the circumstances, and your daddy wasn't there. So if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to really be real.
Here we go, blaming daddy. Yeah, so the reason why I was sleeping with other women and I actually had you wait in the hallway while I finished sleeping with another woman, I had you wait your turn, in the rotation, in the hourly rotation, is my daddy wasn't there. Blame the black man. My daddy wasn't there.
We got to speak with that at the core of the message.
I respect that. Let's go back. I want to go back to find out who Derrick was. Who was Derrick growing up? Like you said, I hear you just mentioned that you grew up in a single parent home raised by a mother around sisters. What did that look like growing up? And why wasn't your dad present?
So my daddy just got in a lot of trouble. My mama and daddy was in their early 30s, about my age now. So he's from Jamaica. He had got into some trouble, got deported very early on, actually when I was 4 years old, but he wasn't in my life since probably age 1. So my mama, coming from somewhat of a background that she didn't want us to be a part of, she moved down to Alabama. Me, my 2 sisters, and actually my older brother, but he was so much older, he moved out pretty quickly.
Elaborate on that. I like to hear more about this background that your mama came from that she didn't want you to be a part of. I got to hear that. I mean, you kind of glossed over that. You went into detail about your dad. He was deported back to Jamaica. He did stuff he wasn't. But what about your mom? You really glossed over that one. Here, I'm going to play that again because it was glossy. It was glossy.
Me, my 2 sisters, and actually my older brother, but he was so much older, he moved out pretty quickly. And man, I just grew up. It wasn't objectively bad, but the story I created from the dynamic of not only daddy not being there and not having answers, but my mama working 2 to 3 jobs year round, I just felt invisible, because like, again, I was really living with my 2 sisters and they connected to each other a lot better than they did me. Yeah. Everybody loved me, to be real with you. My mama loved me and they loved me. But then when mama get home from work, she need time just to be a human being. She got her own battles. So as she's trying to give herself, she's really stretched thin. And then on top of that, again, she barely connects with me. I'm missing my daddy. So a lot of my childhood, man, was just feeling invisible, feeling somewhat abandoned. Even though objectively that wasn't what was going on, that was a story I had created. And then I acted out to get a lot of attention.
How'd you act out?
School. I was the knucklehead that made it really hard to find a babysitter. They just knew that Bud was my childhood name. Bud gonna act up. Bud don't like to listen. Bud just needed some attention. And Bud knew it. The world is going to stop if I get in trouble, if I talk too much, if I get out my seat, if I do this, that, and that. So I got whoopings and all that stuff. But it was really my way of getting attention. So that was pretty much my childhood. Again, my mama, a single mom. She made everything stretch how they needed to.
Wow. So your mom left the state because of a sketchy past. She couldn't seduce another man, so she had to get 2 jobs. Now, I'm wondering if she had 2 jobs like indefinitely, or if she had 2 jobs at the same time, or if she had 2 jobs like when school's in session, she works as a cafeteria lady, and in the summer she works as a crossing guard or some crap like that. Or did she actually pull 16 hours days?
taught me basically everything up until I got to 10th grade. And that's when I had my stepdaddy, Mr. Lloyd, rest in peace. He came into the picture. And he gave me kind of that blue collar work ethic thing. You know, we roofing, we fixing cars, we cutting grass.
Okay, so she did eventually seduce somebody else after a while of dealing with that.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it, man.
Did you have any sexual experiences at a young age?
No, never before my first, like, losing my virginity at like 16.
About 16.
Mhm.
So same as me, lost my virginity at 16. When you lost your virginity at 16, what did that teach you as a man? Was that something that your homeboys was encouraging everybody in the neighborhood? What city did you grow up in?
Enterprise, Alabama. Well, between Elba and Enterprise, Alabama.
Enterprise, Alabama.
Shout out to Alabama right now. You know what I'm saying? We ripping kind of hard. The Montgomery Mollywop representing. Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah. And so at 16, you end up giving up your virginity. What was that like? What did that teach you?
Did this Naker said giving up your virginity? I can't quite put my finger on it. But there's something in essence that's wrong with the way that was worded. I never known a man or a boy to give up his virginity, except in prison. Yeah. In the sense that he's talking about, like, I'll say I lost my virginity at a certain age. I wouldn't say I gave up my virginity. It's a very bizarre way to look at it.
That when a girl say, come see my hair at 1 a.m, it probably ended come see your hair. It was to my next door neighbor, and I don't want to go into detail about it, but honestly, bro, I was just happy to be having sex. I ain't gonna lie to you. It just felt like a rite of passage. You know, because at 15, 16 years old, you still trying to define yourself, be accepted. So this whole time, I wasn't necessarily tripping on sex, but when it came, I wanted to perform. And I went in, you know, but the reality of how I developed my relationship with sex actually started probably with pornography. That was about 10, 11 years old.
Who introduced you to that?
I don't want to say his name, but my homeboy.
It was a homeboy.
Back in Elba, Alabama. He introduced me. Matter of fact, I think they were just introducing computers into the school. I'm old. Just introducing computers. So this is before they had firewall and all that stuff. And man, he told me to go on the website, and I went on the website. And from there, man, I won't say addicted, but I was definitely introduced to something way too early.
What do you remember that doing? Because a lot of people don't understand how pornography shapes the viewpoint of how men see or objectify women. And I had a conversation with, you know, even my sons, you know what I'm saying? They be online, they'll end up something to pop up on these game and stuff. And I was like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this. No one ever had that conversation with me as a young man. And I had a family member that had magazines, you know, and I seen them a couple of times when I was like 12, but I just never did like get involved in it. So my question to you is, how did that shape, when you look back, hindsight being 2020, how did that shape your viewpoint on women?
Well, what my therapist taught me was that it actually just created a toxic relationship with sex, period. It became kind of an escape, you know, something to immediately distract me, make me feel less rejected if I ever felt that. So, you know, starting there, of course, it rewires your brain, it desensitizes you and stuff like that. It also miseducates you on what real intimacy is. So it took me well into my adulthood, actually until, you know, I was married, to understand that it's not about performance-based, you know, whenever you're having sex with a woman, it's connection-based. So I went, you know, even having sex in the earliest years,
there's truth in that.
About, you know, the theatrics of what I could perform and so on and so forth, man. But especially if there's serious feelings involved, you may leave a woman feeling like a piece of meat when she can tell you wasn't even there with her.
There's a lot of truth in that. Which is why I don't make an extraordinary effort to overperform and et cetera, at least in the physical sense, because I know that women sense sex different. However, some women are pieces of meat and to be enjoyed as such.
Right.
So not only that, in the times where I wasn't having sex, again, that was my easy out. Like, okay, I know I got porn, I got this, that, and the other.
Yep.
And I wasn't on there like 4 hours a day or nothing like that. But I developed some nasty habits of when I'm really, really stressed or hurt or grieving or whatever.
Yep.
I can do this and then go to sleep, or I can do this to get my mind. I can break the pattern by doing this. So that was pretty much it, man.
You're in college. You go to college.
Okay. The reason why he says it's a nasty habit is because it's a form of relief that doesn't require a woman. That's why it's a nasty habit. You see, if a person was to say, when I'm feeling stressed, I could talk to my wife, or when I'm feeling down, I could talk to my girlfriend, or when I'm feeling tired, I could just listen to my fiance or something like that. For whatever reason, these are healthy. But when you take your own control of it, it's not healthy any longer.
College. How did you meet Danaia?
Math class. She walked in. Then she had on a black colored button up with black slacks, pretty face, slanted eyes, nice curves. Honestly, it was all physical when I first looked at her. And then I saw her notebook and I saw that she was into music. And I was like, oh, I thought you was like a bottle girl or something like that. You know what I'm saying? No, I was like, I saw the saxophone and stuff like that. So I asked about it.
2 liter.
And she had a really soft voice, somewhat of an innocence about her. And we got to talking. I got a number. She didn't immediately answer later on whenever I called. I think I called 3 times. So she don't answer this time. She answered on the last ring. And from there, man, we talked through the night. We did all of the stuff that we think about in high school and college, like on the phone overnight. We were inseparable, man, for like that first 2 months. Just again, people looked at me a certain way, and I was misunderstood. But with her, even being goofy and bubbly, like my personality is naturally I'm usually the jokester.
Okay.
So between that and I had an interest that most guys would think is soft. Again, I love Terry McMillan and Air Jerome Dickey books. I love R&B. I work out to R&B to this day.
So I work.
Who in the hell works out to R&B? Typically, people work out to something that energizes you. Why does he read Terry McMillan? He reads the most man-hating crap that exists. And the thing about Terry McMillan is that she's talking about you. Terry McMillan, in her books, her plays, etc., 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 she's talking about you. The cheating husband, the etc., etc., etc. She's talking about you.
You know what I'm saying? On the way home from football games, I was writing poetry. Coincidentally, Dear Future Wife post, man, back in the day. You can
really?
You can search on Twitter right now, put in hashtag Dear Future Wife and Derrick Jackson. You'll see from 2010. I was on. So all of that soft stuff, she didn't judge me for, though. She loved it. She loved my poetry. She wrote poetry. And one time, this is when I knew it, oh, this is the one right here. I told her when I was younger, we loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Didn't know that's how mama was making that money stretch, but I loved it. It was a delicacy to me.
You better talk about it.
She, before practice one day, she was like, I need to see you. I was like, okay, for football practice. And she ran up to me with 2 sandwiches, one with white bread, one with wheat bread, and said, I didn't know which one you was going to like, but I know you like PB&J.
Really?
I called my mama on the way to practice. I said, Mama, I found the one. Go on, get your dress ready. It's going down.
So she got you a sandwich. So I really hate how his story isn't matching up with hers at all. Because he's speaking on the story as if this was a love connection. I mean, the way he's talking now, this is like a white college rom-com, where the awkward nerdy girl meets the jock. This is like the storyline of the movie She's All That. But in the movie She's All That, Freddie Prinze Jr. didn't have a bunch of side pieces, which is her side of the story, which is how she's telling it.
This is at 19 years old, man. So we could joke.
She
we was
had
on
them at
Skype.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Man, look, a sense of humor. Of course, she was sexy and all that stuff. But
She started off
sexy.
tutoring you, right? She said something about tutoring you.
That was a segue. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out how to get close to her.
Oh, so you used that?
I used it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I used it. I need help. Now I did, but that wasn't the reason why I chose her as my tutor. They had other tutors, you know what I'm saying? One girl, she had like a pimple by nose and stuff like that. I was cool on that. I want this one right here.
I want this one.
And so, yeah, man, we continued to connect and talk and be inseparable. And, you know, it didn't take long at all. I think within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, we were inseparable, holding hands everywhere. Went on dates. I ain't even had no money for a date. I ain't had no money to pay for my own food on the date. And then the first night that I asked her, I think it was on Valentine's Day of 2020. I asked her if she would be my girl. We went on a bowling date.
Not 2020.
No, not 2020.
Yeah.
Shoot, 2009. That year is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
2009, February 14, 2009. I asked her to be my girl after a bowling date. She said yeah. Then I asked her to come with me down to the lake so we could pray over our relationship. It's the first time.
Hold on.
Oh, this dude, the way he tells stories, he's so full of shit. So, and I love, man, if math wasn't my thing, you know, I would have probably been a lawyer. And maybe I should have been. Or maybe I should have been like that detective that was like, you know, so you say that you dropped the bottle at 11:15. Maybe I should have been that, because you say that you discovered the Lord on February 4th, 2020. But here on February 14th, 2009, you claim that you took her to pray with you. Sir, are you admitting that you were fake praying in 2009? You were praying to a Lord that you admittedly would not find until 11 years later. Is that what you're saying? Who were you praying to in 2009? So he walks around with this fake crap. He walks around with this, oh yes, I read poetry and I'm a man, I work out to R&B. Oh God. I work out to R&B. He comes with all this. And yes, let's get together and pray. And when she tells this story, she was like, oh nah, she was giving it up just to make him happy, you know, and buying him stuff and all this stuff. This guy. See, the reason why he's selling it in a romantic way, the reason why he's trying to make this seem like a romantic story, like this is a rom-com, like this is a Beauty and the Beast in reverse type situation. The reason why he's doing that is for the other women that are listening, is for the women who feel that they can recreate this fantasy, that they could be the awkward, fat, nerdy girl, and that they can get this overwhelmingly high value man. His bread and butter is that fantasy that women can fantasize about him and assume it's a possibility, because that is the fantasy of all. Okay. Y'all ever notice in both Marvel and DC that the guys, these super guys, and these are guys who are, I mean, of course there's exception like Batman, but these are guys who are super either, you know, through some mishap, or even if they're human, they're super. They always go for the plain Janes or the Mary Janes. Ever notice that? That's because that is the woman's fantasy. Like men got they fantasy. Men like Spider-Man no matter what. Men like Superman no matter what. But for the woman has to be regular. The woman has to be Lois Lane. She's Lois Plane. There's nothing spectacular about this. Isn't like, the most beautiful woman on the planet. She's not even the hottest woman that works at the Daily Planet. She's just Lois Lane. She's just a regular ass woman. And she is with like a Superman. A dude who's literally a Superman. Same with Tony Stark. At the very base of it, even if you take the superhero-ness aside and the savior of, you know, the universe or half the universe from Thanos' part aside, he is a billionaire playboy philanthropist. He is these things. But who does he get with? The plain Jane secretary. Not the supermodel, not the actress that everybody's been fantasizing about, but she fantasizes about, you know, about Tony Stark. The plain Jane chick. This is their fantasy. And Marvel and DC feeds into it. Spider-Man, Mary Plain, you know, and with Spider-Man, it's unique because Spider-Man is offered the booty. Spider-Man is offered the booty by the supermodel chick in all of the Spider-Verses. That's what happens. And, you know, but he winds up with Mary Jane. He's in love with Mary Jane always. And she is the plain Jane of the thing. This is the woman's fantasy. Derrick Jaxn understands this. He understands that he's exceptional. He does. In his physique, his height, and he accrued a lot of wealth at a very young age. So he understands that. And he understands that a lot of plain Jane women fantasize about him. So what he's going to do is he's creating this whole romance story about him in the plain Jane fantasy. Exactly. Superman with Lois Lane instead of for Wonder Woman. What kind of universe is that? It's a universe that appeals to women. It's a lot easier to be a Lois Lane. Now that I think about it, these chicks' name even rhyme with plain. Lois Lane, Mary Jane. Just saying. So my point is that is what he's selling. This is a new form of pandering, or this is just, you know, consistent with a style of pandering, I should say.
At 19, you talking about you praying with
I was actually you probably won't believe this. I was actually an average church goer, man, at that time. I was doing my stuff, but I also went down to Mount Olive Baptist Church down.
Yeah. You was an average churchgoer, right? But the truth of the matter is, you just claimed that you didn't find the Lord until 2020.
In Tuskegee and was front row every single Sunday.
Really?
Yes. I was a devout churchgoer. The year before that, I did a mission trip out in Atlanta ministering to the homeless down by Peachtree. So, you know, she came in, I was still in church, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to pray. I was so scared.
You wanted to pray over y'all relationship.
I didn't know what I was doing. I never felt anything like that. I never felt like I really was in love, because I had a hard time letting people close to me because I experienced a lot of loss. So I could engage. I'm an extrovert when it comes to meeting people and talking, but actually letting somebody in, she was the very first person outside of my family I had done that with. So, man, we prayed by the lake. I led the prayer. And then we was like, all right, God, I need your help because I don't know what I'm doing.
You said you were afraid.
Afraid.
Because you've never allowed yourself to open up like this with a woman before. You said you've experienced loss. When you say that, you're talking about what? Your father not being present? What are the losses that you incurred?
Most of my father, man. And then my grandmother was a tough loss. And I learned really.
You can't lose anything you didn't have. This dude lays it on thick. This dude lays it on thick. He's like, okay, I'm going to hit him with the church boy routine. Now I'm going to hit him with the absentee father routine. Like, oh, I felt the loss of my father. Well, how long has your father been gone? Well, I didn't really get to know him because he was gone when I was 1. But, you know, I felt the loss when I was in my late 20s. I just felt that loss. Or my late teens, I felt that loss all of a sudden. It's like the loss of what? You have to have something to lose it.
With that, and everybody lost somebody, but I learned with that, I'm horrible at grieving. I don't do well with that. And I learned later on in therapy, it's because of how I internalized my father's loss. I had so much meaning I put to it as far as like what that means for me. Like, I'm not worth calling. I'm not worth checking on. I'm not worth doing the right thing so you don't have to be taken from me.
Yeah.
And then my mama, she had a thing that she would do from I'd say up to about age 7, where she would tuck me in and say, "Good night, Mr. B," because Bud was my nickname. And then mama got a boyfriend one time and she stopped. And for me, I mean, it was dramatic, I guess, but I said, "Oh, she don't love me like that anymore." Right. So now I grow up and I'm really guarded. I'm really good at just going inward when I have something wrong with me, et cetera, and not letting people get too close. Even girls like, "Oh, I can smash, or we could do whatever. We could."
Okay. So now we're getting deep into it. Now we are getting into it. So your mama only loved you when there's no other penis in the house. So she was like, "Good night, Mr. B. Hello, Mr. D." Basically, when Mr. D came in, that whole Mr. B moment went away, which is the type of stuff that we talk about here. Hey, when Mr. B came in, or excuse me, when Mr. D came in, it was like, "Hey, you on your own, Mr." Wow. Wow. But he sees no fault in her. So she neglect. Okay, I'm not.
Talk, but I'm never going to give you my heart.
Yeah.
But with Danaia, none of them guards stayed up. So I was scared because I know, like, I'm feeling something I've never felt before, and I don't want to mess this up. I know she's too good for me. So, like, God, help me become somebody I'm not, because
She too good for me. This dude, he lays it on thick.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
So during that time, you wasn't the type to be monogamous, was you? You just said
I didn't have no relationship to be monogamous in. I was doing my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and so this one, you just said, why'd you want to give it all up for her?
I felt something with her I never felt before.
He didn't give it up. Why you want to give it all up for her? You didn't give it up. You didn't. From her side of the story, you were sleeping with other chicks the whole side through. Stop trying to make this into a story. Stop trying to make this into a love story. You was getting a bunch of booty and she was the one that trapped you.
For it. But it was emotionally based. Looking back at it now, it's like, man, I was so unprepared. And for something like that, you don't know how important that role is, you and playing somebody's life, where you're going to give them your heart and they're going to give you theirs.
Yeah.
You hand somebody the keys to your sanity, your physical health, and so many other things. But we were taught later, you know, if you love somebody, you just go be there.
Yep.
And you trial and error.
Yep.
And there's a high price to pay for trial and error, as we both learned.
So as y'all were dating each other in college, what that looked like? Were y'all what
monogamous?
What grade were you in at the time?
I was a sophomore. Second year, she was a freshman.
All right, so sophomore and freshman, second year, and you were like, "This is my woman." Were you exclusive with her during that time?
The first couple of months I was exclusive. I don't know if I ever had the proper boundaries, but for me, it was like, you know, of course, don't cheat. Don't go sleep with another girl. But I would say after that honeymoon phase, the first...
Right. Yeah. So when I met her, I saw her face and I'm a believer. Like, when I met her, it was just all these rockets and stars and you know, my whole life has changed. And it's like, oh God, am I worthy of this beautiful queen? Like I'm at the front row of the church at Tuskegee every Sunday, and you know, I asked God for permission to covet and love this goddess in such a way that she deserves. And then a couple of months pass and I'm out looking for new booty. This dude is full of crap. All the firework talk is just like I said, and I call, this is my first time watching this. Like, I catch snippets from other people who talked about it, namely Bernard, but you know, this is my first time watching this. And yeah, this dude just reeks of full of crap. I knew that he's selling the love story to his women audience, because they because now they had now, especially now that he's divorced, they have hope for that love story, and they know that that's the only real way he could get in. If it's just like under some, secretary meets, Man of Steel scenario. So all this, I met her and I fell in love, and I went through the town and the city with a glass slipper in hand, and I was like, who does this belong to? And I put it on the foot of women, no matter how ugly the stepsisters were. I was gonna marry whoever fit this shoe. Like this, that is the story that he's telling. But he's like, yeah, but Brenda had a big old butt. I know I told you I'd be true.
2 months is when I can remember. I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember feeling really rejected by her. And I didn't know that because, okay, I don't have aggressive energy towards a woman except in intimacy. And so how I would express my affection oftentimes was aggressive. Like I want to pick her up. Yeah. I don't just kiss her. I pin her up against the wall, put my hand around. I'm not trying to get graphic. Yeah. There's context here. So I come up behind her and hug on her, kind of aggressive. But that would make her really, really shut down. And I didn't know what was going on. I felt rejected. Like, why you don't want to kiss me? Will my breath stink or something like that? So we would have, and not only was she shut down, then it would be tension. It would be almost hostile. So again, this wasn't until about a month and a half, 2 months in, where it was like, now it's back-to-back things. Now I come up on the kiss her and she like kind of pushing away. She can't stay far enough away from me. She's kind of mean towards me. And it's kind of a flip side. And I didn't know part of what I was feeling didn't have nothing to do with the relationship. It was much deeper. But I remember like, man, my breath getting short. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I ain't never been so sensitive to rejection because we all get rejected. But this is the first time I felt that. And what felt safer was to go out and at least have friendships with other girls. Just the conversation felt like receptiveness, like acceptance again.
Friendships with other girls. Okay. Now he's going, and now I know where this is going because I think I've seen a piece of it on Bernard. Now he's going to go into the whole grape thing. We're going to get into that, but now he's just trying to justify the fact that he wanted more booty. Fellas, and I'm not saying to your wife, I'm not mode one, rest in peace, Alan Roger Curry. I'm not mode one. Say what's necessary to sustain the marriage that you want to sustain or sustain a relationship that you want to sustain. If you get caught cheating, don't say what I'm about to tell you that you should say to other men. But if you get caught cheating, say what you need to say to sustain a relationship. Like, oh yeah, I was going through stuff and I can't believe that Trump got reelected or some crap like that. Say whatever to sustain your marriage, relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But man to man, I did it because Brenda had a big old, and it's a Brenda here. That's funny. Somebody named Brenda's here. But I did it, and I don't remember. I gotta check your Instagram. I think he might have a big old butt too. But I did it because Brenda got a big old butt. I did. I mean, that's the real, keep it a buck. Like the reason why you cheated is for more booty. That is the reason that you cheated. That's the reason that men cheat. The reason that we cheat is because we crave sexual variety. We are imperfect creatures, but we are very good at everything. Men are spectacular and of perfect value to women, other than the fact that we crave sexual variety. We do. Keep it a buck. But no, this dude, like, oh yes, I was going through this, and they canceled the Baconator at Wendy's. It was for a limited time only. The McRib wasn't in season, so it was like all kind of stuff. No, you wanted more booty. You wanted more booty. Man, the like button.
But those loose boundaries turned into no boundaries. So, you know, if we continued to clash and she continued to pull away or what have you, and I'm not getting no answers or whatever, I'm especially in my prideful state. I'm thinking, man, she got me effed up. So I'm over here doing the right thing, and she over here acting like I ain't nothing. So now there's a party tonight, or there's a girl on campus, and then she got her own dorm room. And that's whenever I started messing around.
Which is interesting. Now I realize something. You were trying to be on the straight and narrow, and that aggressive.
Speaking of dorm rooms, this is a segue. This has nothing to do with this, but it was in dorm rooms when I first started to realize. I didn't realize till I just like outright did it. When I first started to realize that I like to be watched sexually. Or maybe I like to be watched because it reminds me of my younger days in dorm rooms. Sorry, I got something like a lint or something in my mouth. But because there was like a thrill of you're in a dorm. And I don't know if everyone here went to college or something like that, or been with a woman who was in college and in a dorm room or something like that. But many of them, they have like beds side by side, twin size beds side by side, kind of like if you're a kid and you live and you share a room with a sister or brother or something like that. And you would sleep with the girl that you're with. And you know, you would wait for the roommate, the dorm mate to go to sleep and get like a quick and quiet slide in. Now, it's not much you can do while making sure that the person right next to you is still asleep. However, that wasn't the thrill. The thrill of it was knowing that the other chick was right there sleeping was part of the turn on to me. And now that I think of it, I think that I was counting those interactions. I think when I was younger, I think I actually counted that as a threesome. I counted situations like that as a threesome because she was in the room. But no, I don't do that anymore. But I think I did. I think I went out and told the homies I had a threesome. All right. I forgot where I was in this video, but that was just a quick aside when he mentioned dorm rooms.
Personality that you had, because she told me, well, she told us on the podcast that she had experienced a rape 2 weeks before y'all met.
Yeah. So she you
didn't know nothing about.
I didn't know about that till 5 years later.
Exactly.
I don't know if she wants to speak on it, so I won't go in depth, but there was another instance of rape in that same 30-day span before she met me. So I didn't know to the level or at all that I was dealing with a rape survivor. Even if I knew that, I probably wouldn't have known how.
What the hell? This sounds like crap. Wait a minute. You talking about me or Derrick? Either way, we both were college age. And even if I'm 50 and I want to get down like that, I will. There's no shame in that. These are legal adults. Anyway. So according to them, it happened twice. I don't know. I call cap on it sounds fishy. I'm gonna say that. It sounds fishy. But nevertheless, he's going to attribute her behavior to the rapes. He's going to say that that's why she was behaving like this. But notice, see how weird it is? Like when you dig into the stories, they don't make sense because, okay, so you got with her, you fell in love, and she, of course, y'all were intimate. She was kissing and stuff like that for the first 2 months. And then she all of a sudden started pulling back. Like, what changed in that 2-month period? Because, her past rape occurrences happened whether she, that 2 months, it didn't affect those first 2 months. So why did it affect everything that happened after that? So there is a lie in here somewhere.
Exactly to handle it.
That, yeah.
But certain forms, and we covered this later on in our marriage therapy, but because this was a pattern. This everything that happened that was really painful was really one long repetitive pattern.
Right.
Me feeling rejected for this, that, and the other. And she handles, becoming okay again a certain way. But I didn't know certain forms of affection that were natural to me just felt scary to her, put her back in a certain space where, certain things that happen. So, yeah.
And that's so interesting. It's like, I'm getting understanding. It's like you have this woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the mess. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection. You grabbing her by the...
What the hell was that? Did y'all see that? Okay. Look at Derrick Jaxn's mouth when he said, love your dirty draws. Look at his mouth. Look closely at Derrick Jaxn's mouth when he says she loved your dirty draws. I went back way too far, but this will give y'all time to look.
And she handles, becoming okay again a certain way. But I didn't know certain forms of affection that were natural to me just felt scary to her, put her back in a certain space where, certain things that happen. So, yeah.
And that's so interesting. It's like, I'm getting understanding. It's like you have this one.
Now look at his mouth right now. Right now it looks regular. Watch this.
Woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the mess. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection.
Y'all see that? Y'all see that? He's getting off on this. He's getting off on her attraction to his dirty draws. Hit the like button.
Grabbing her by her neck, you being aggressive physically, from a sexual standpoint. She's getting nervous. She's getting triggered on all levels. Don't even realize that she's been triggered like this. She's closing up rejection to you because you've experienced that growing up. Mom no longer is kissing you and tucking you in bed at night, rejection. So now you're like, well, now I'm going to go self-medicate. I have this history of looking at porn, and now the way I self-medicate is watching this. So now I'm going to do the outward extension of that.
Yeah.
Now I'm over here hanging out with girls. One thing leads to another. Now you over here smashing. Now it's triggering her. How did she ever find out when you first cheated on her?
Well, we were both triggering each other and didn't know it.
Right.
I was triggering her with my affection. She was triggering me by pushing away. I didn't just continuously, because I had this weird thing, man, where I would do it and feel guilty.
Would you tell?
Man, I'm tripping. No, heck no.
Okay.
No. So I would do it and be like, oh man, all right, you messed up, you did your thing. Again, bro, we kids at this point. We're 19,
so would the
20
girls
years
be
old.
running back to her?
Nah, they didn't do that either. I don't even know if those particular girls knew we were together.
You walked around holding hands on campus?
Not all of them was on campus. Not all of them was on campus. Yeah, what we talking? I'm trying to dig back because this is 15 years ago.
Listen to how he's talking. Not all of them. So it's a bunch of them. It's lots and lots of them. But every time he's talking like, yeah, it hurt my soul. It hurt my soul when I was with, Donna, Maria, Gina, and Tisha. Carla, Rochelle, don't forget Maisha. It hurt me all the time. I was sleeping with all of these girls. Raquel, Michelle, and half of Janelle. I don't know. I didn't know what to do because she wasn't kissing me the same way because, she was raped. she was raped before we got together, and things was normal, but then all of a sudden the trauma kicked in after 2 months, and I decided to cheat. But it's all the rapist's fault.
Long time ago.
But I remember, I don't know how she knew. I don't think the original one or two or whatever she knew about, but I know we had a falling out because her and her friend, she suspected or something. Her and her friend used to have this thing on Facebook called Honesty Box. And it was where basically you send anonymous messages or whatever. So her and her friend had set up to send me anonymous messages to try to see if I would bite on the bait of another girl trying to flirt with me or something like that. I would have this, and it's again pattern. I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. Now I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. So in this point, I was faithful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, no more girls. I felt terrible. That ain't it. You know, we done made up or something. Like somehow we get to talking and we back in love again. So this Honesty Box message is coming in. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I got a girl. And then I'm hearing ding in the other room. I'm at, we got a apartment here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I sent another message, ding, went into the room, her inboxes. And I'm like, oh, so we fell out. She suspected me of cheating at that point, but she wasn't right about that.
Yeah.
And then from there, man, it was kind of all downhill because we got into a really bad argument and, you know, all this other stuff.
Well, she said that in the times that she would catch you back in college, she would never tell you anyway. She would go in the closet and cry, and then you'd come be like, hey, everything cool? And she'd be like, yeah, everything fine.
Well, that was
she'll say, it's my dad. I'm grieving the loss of my dad.
Yeah, that was a communication style, period. Without cheating, I may say something that offended her. I learned later on in therapy with her that sometimes my facial expressions while I'm listening would trigger her because I think her dad or something like had that going on. So a million things could be wrong with her, but then it again this dynamic of I'm begging for her to tell me what's wrong, and she don't. And I could take rejection maybe 1 or 2 days, but after 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, now I'm starting to check out and detach without actually leaving. So it wasn't just the cheating that she wasn't talking about. She literally, if she had an issue, she held it in until she blew up.
She said that. She said she's wanting.
That is weird as hell. And I believe him when he says this, and it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon that a chick can react to you or treat you different because of something you didn't know or have any control of. You know, your facial expression that reminds me of my dad. And my dad used to spank me. And when you spank me, it's like, wait, what? What?
Well, she held something in like 10 years and then blew
a
up.
lot of stuff, man. It wasn't just that. It was a constant thing of, you know, communication is key, but you're not communicating. And so I'm over here begging, trying. Because sometimes I'll be doing stuff and I wouldn't know it was bothering her. Like, so for instance, I was kind of a flirt. So I would say, hey, beautiful or whatever to a girl, think nothing of it. But then she would hear that and be like, you call me beautiful. So understandably, she's offended. She's upset. Like, what, you know, you tripping. Like, don't play with me like that. But she don't say anything. So she wasn't vocal, but she was expressive. Because it ain't like she just didn't talk. She showed that she was upset, but it was with, again, rejection, hostility, name calling, walking off middle of conversation. And that go on for weeks up until I pull away. Then she gets suspicious. One pattern over the next for the next however many years.
So when y'all graduated high school, graduated college, what was the state of y'all relationship? Y'all
we had just broken up. So I found out about her and a gentleman. I think she mentioned on the last podcast.
She said that she was trying to get you jealous or make you jealous about a coworker that she said we created this thing to make it look like this is somebody I was dating to make you jealous. But
we remember that differently. If I pick that cup up and I pour with the contents in it in my mouth and I swallow, did I make it look like I was drinking? So we've always differed on this, by the way. So I'm not trying to just stir nothing up.
So basically, he's saying that she swallowed. Essentially, he's saying that his wife is a swallower. Yep. Now, there's really no way of telling, but there is a lie because there's a contradiction. So the guy's name is Fabian. Apparently, when she told the story, she was using Fabian to make it appear to make him jealous. Now he's saying that actually they both can be true. Now he's saying that they actually slept together, that Fabian actually smashed. They both can be true. She could have been using Fabian to make him jealous, and she went further than she should have. In fact, both things are probably true because um, according to her, it didn't work in the beginning. Like it wasn't this whole Fabian tactic, it wasn't phasing him. So, it would seem in her character to step it up a notch.
No. So I had a nonprofit when I was in college. I wanted to tutor and mentor all this other stuff. So one of the things we did was we held events. I had a Christmas event that was like that previous December toward the end of college. And I had saw her and the gentleman, the young guy, speaking for like an hour. Now, up until this point, Danaia had always like tried to kind of be perfect in my eyes. Like I think she thought if she ever showed a flaw, whatever, I would just leave or something like that. So I was like, this is bold, at my event. It's like hundreds of people in there, but I can see her just chatting it up. So from December all the way until we graduated that late May or something like that, I had seen the cars together. I had seen all these different things.
And it's the coworker that she had.
Yeah, coworker, any classmate or something like that. So fast forward, and I'm thinking at this point, first off, we already coordinated where we're going to work after school. We're going to be in the same state, because I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But at this point, I think it was really a lot of what she had been holding in because I had been unfaithful. I had cheated and all this other stuff. I think she never fully expressed herself on how that affected her. So at this point, I think it started bubbling up to where she got really hostile. Like, man, if I don't care what you say. So she's out overnight. It's like, I went to sleep at the gas station. I'm like, went to sleep at the gas station? Went out again overnight.
Oh, y'all were staying together?
We were staying together.
Okay.
We had started staying together like, we were shacking up like year two.
So you said, so she left the house and then come back the next morning?
To like 9, 10 in the morning. And this was unlike her. She was not this type of girl, but she's wearing makeup now. I know she got some hood rat friends from Sonic where she work, and I know she hanging with them. But I'm like,
she wearing makeup now. Okay.
What is she doing? I'm not sure who's involved. So she did that 2 nights in a row.
All right. I'm glad that he's going into depth in this story because it's good to have 2 points of views.
Then one night I came home. I forget where I was at. I wasn't doing, at this point, I wasn't doing anything. Again, I kept going up and down. Came home in the shower. I came in just like me, bro. I'm very affectionate. My number one love language is physical touch. So first thing I do is get my kiss and hug. She's in the shower. I come right up in there, and while she's in the shower, she's wet, and she's like, and I'm like, "What's up, baby?" Kissed her. Came on out, and the phone is on the counter with the messages up. And he's like, "Is he home? Can I slide?" And I'm looking real quick, and I see the name. She jumped out, wet, snatched the phone, and I was like, "Oh boy." Went to the living room. I searched the name on Facebook, saw some stuff. And I was like, that's the guy that she was talking. So that was a big blow up. And we broke up. And then.
Okay. Yeah. Derrick is smart, but he's also very naive in a lot of ways. Yeah, she set that up. Okay, so he may or may not have smashed. I don't think he did, but she basically made this poor dude think that he was going to hit it. And then she just timed everything perfectly. Like, okay, so Derrick's coming home. Now let me just set my phone here, face up. Let me go in the shower, and let me make sure that I don't have the passcode locked. Let me unlock the passcode. And so when he comes in, he'll see the text message. I'll just leave it on the most recent text message so he could take a look at that, and yeah, that'll get him upset. So she admitted to obviously wanting to get you upset. And coincidentally, you just so happen to have seen her phone like at the right time, in the right situation, the perfect setup.
years later, I had heard from some people he was around about what actually took place. And that after we broke up, she had went and stayed the night and they did whatever they did. And it wasn't until we were married, because we had this thing where, hey, tell every sexual experience you've ever had.
Yeah.
Where we were married, and she finally, after he done died a couple months earlier, said what all had actually transpired.
So she admitted to it.
Well, she did. She said, well, she didn't have sex while we were together, but it was afterwards. Me, I'm like, it pales in comparison to what I did. I am not going to get mad. Like, let's just keep it all the way G, so we can sweep this away and get on to the next chapter. But we had the direct answers. We broke up. We broke up because of that. Her and whoever, I didn't care. I moved on, did my thing, but we stayed in touch. And when she moved where she moved to, we kind of reconnected sexually.
She said that at that point, but first of all, let's go back to her personality, which is interesting.
Notice he said sexually. Like, we reconnected sexually, not in any other way, not emotionally, not all these butterflies and fireworks that when we first met. It's like, nah, she just started giving me some. Again. God, this chick is deceptive. Okay, I'm going to throw it out there. I don't believe she was raped. Either of the 2 times that she's claiming it. I think that she's using sex and affection to manipulate him. And when called out on it, she just falls back to that.
Because I've come to find out, Danaia said she used to be a fighter. She used to swing on people. She said somebody came to that job one day, she done fought people. She.
I didn't know that part of her, but I mean, she's spoken of being willing to, but I didn't know that part of her.
Yeah, she said she was known to throw hands, and I was like, really? I was like, she's like, oh yeah.
A lot of tricks up her sleeve, a lot of surprises. Box of chocolates, man.
She said she threw hands. And so now y'all moved to y'all's respective cities. What city was that? Was this when you moved to Atlanta?
I was in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. No, we went to North Carolina first.
Okay.
Well, and then she was in South Carolina.
And y'all were both single during that stage?
Very single.
You doing your own thing, she doing her own thing?
Her own thing.
But then y'all would just smash every now and then?
Every now and then. But then I would say this lasts about a year and a half. So if she needed me, I came and, like, say, for instance, one time, I worked a 9 to 5 at the time. I was at work, but she had felt really ill and she didn't have no family down there or nothing like that. And
did y'all catch that? If she needed me, I came. Okay. Yeah.
I came back, I flew back, and I just drove. It was like a 5-hour drive. I drove down there and I stayed with her that weekend. So anytime she needed me, she didn't have no furniture, I would help. If she needed to do this, I would help. That was kind of how we, how we did things, but we were still sexually engaged whenever I did come.
Would that be defined in today's standards as a situationship?
That's fair to say.
Or just somebody I'm just smashing because a situationship is more so.
No, that would be defined today as a sugar daddy. Yeah, that would be defined today and every other day as a sugar daddy, sugar baby dynamic. Yeah, if she needs some furniture, she called me. If she needs some this, she'd call me. If I need some, I call her. Like, yeah.
As it's understood that we're exclusive with each other, but we don't have the title. This sounds like more of, I understand you got other people you messing with and vice versa, but we'll hook up.
I would say after probably the first year, when we kind of really started up with, I'm coming in, I'm operating as a boyfriend, or she's operating as a girlfriend, daily calls and texts and check-ins and stuff like that, but still undefined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fair to say situationship. Either way, it was a blur line mess.
And when y'all got ready to move to Atlanta, was that a conversation that y'all had that y'all were going to move together?
First, she was going to come up to where I was at in North Carolina. My whole goal was to get down to Atlanta. My whole life goal was to get down there in driving distance to my mom and them.
Where your mom live in Atlanta?
Alabama. So she's like a four-hour drive away. So I never had plans of staying too far away. I always wanted to be close with family. But yeah, we had that conversation. Like, at some point, especially as we get back together, we're going to be down in Atlanta together.
So when at the birth of, at what stage and age did the birth of the Derrick Jaxn that we see on social media, when did that emerge?
It kind of started, I would say, about 2012. I can't say social media because now I talk a lot about relationships. I didn't start off with relationships.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about police brutality. I was kind of like one of them online activists.
Oh, really?
My first time going viral, my first time on national television, I went on CNN. I was speaking on behalf of Walter Scott Bush. My first time going viral, it was about Trayvon Martin and Rachel Jeantel and those folks.
That's what you was doing?
That was my first thing. That's the first thing I went viral with. So the first
Why in the world was he talking about Rachel Jeantel? For all of you who don't know, Rachel Jeantel is a very fat and ugly young woman. And she's likely the reason that Trayvon Martin got off is because she took the stand. She didn't care. And she just said something that put him in the worst possible light, put Trayvon Martin in the worst possible light. And it seems like he was speaking for her. I don't know. It's weird. And she was like a senior in high school since she was like 23, or until she was like 23.
50 to 100,000 people that was on my page, and I only separated it because I didn't want people on my personal page aggravating. You know how racist it is.
Yeah.
So I created a separate page where I was talking mostly about that. Occasionally, I was sprinkling relationship stuff because I was always a lover. I always loved love and talking about love. But
that was 2012.
This was 2012, 2011, 2012. When I first went viral, I went to work and I saw like 15,000 people liking the page and so on and so forth. I ain't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But I was just speaking my piece on whatever I felt was true. But then that became too heavy. It was like, it's so dark and it induces this helplessness. And I don't know how people do it now where they get up and talk about that every day. It's not that it's not important. But anyway, I was just like, I kind of want to stick to just the lovey-dovey stuff, man. So I kept posting my poetry and, dear future wife, and all that stuff. But people, like now I got like 75, 85,000 people are looking at my page. And now what they see is at least relationship conversation. And so then they would ask questions. And that's whenever, I don't even know what year that was. That had to be about closing on 2013 sometime. And I wasn't trying to give like this expert point of view. I was just more like big brother. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, this is what it is. I'm not no knight in white shining armor, but this is the truth on what you're talking about. And so they begin curating more of the conversation now, the DMs, the comments and stuff like that. And little by little, they started going viral.
And so you were intentional enough to say, let me leave this other stuff alone and then focus my energy on love and relationships.
Yeah, I honestly, bro, just like everybody else get on social media to post whatever's important to them, that's what I did. The only difference is my voice started resonating and relating to people. And I think I'm probably a bit more bold than most.
What was the style? Were you doing it? Was you on a cell phone like you've become known for? Or did you have cameras? Like what were you doing during that time?
It was written at first. It was all written. Everything was written up until 2014, 2015. My first, actually, I was a romance novelist. The first couple of books were Cheating Man's Heart 1 and 2, inspired by, I'm sure it's a huge surprise. And then from there, I wrote poetry because, again, I'm just staying true. Some people were trying to push me into expert land. I'm like, y'all don't know. I just effed up everything. I ain't the one. But then when I got down to Atlanta, this is 2015-ish. Me and her just broke up all over again. People have been stealing a lot of my content. And I was like, enough of that. So I started making videos, Snapchat videos. And then those.
Okay. So a romance novelist is somebody who is adept at creating fictitious fantasies for women. That's what he did. He creates fictitious fantasies for women. He know what women want. He know what they fantasize about, and he create that for them. That's what he's doing to his audience. That's what he's doing with and to all of his followers. He's creating a fantasy, just like I said with Mary Jane and Lois Lane and all that. He's good at that. That's what he is. He's the he's the whisperer or something. He's a strag whisperer.
Went even more viral than the written stuff. So that's how that happened. It was on my cell phone. I ain't have none of these beautiful lights and cameras or nothing like that. But I was able to impact a lot of lives, even just with I think it was an Android at that.
You got something against Android?
I'm just saying, everybody be shading.
Now you woke up and chose violence. Now
people
I
are
got an Android.
Samsung phobic, so
we
they over
having
here.
a great conversation until you had to go attack Android. Now interview over. I'm sitting.
Triggered you.
Yeah, triggered me. You iPhone people. And so you start doing this content. And so what kind of feedback did you get from your brothers? Like where like dudes that where they like, man, come on, man, what you doing talking about this stuff or this? Like your inner circle, how did they receive it?
My inner circle knows me. They know first off I'm kind of soft. Like I always like things that most people didn't like.
Okay.
I watch a little bit of sports, but not big on sports. I always love love. Whenever we used to freestyle back in the day, I was always on love topics, all that kind of stuff. So
really?
Yeah. But outside of my inner circle, I got a lot of feedback that I really kind of got with the videos, the comments and all that kind of stuff. Oh man. But it's just like, bro, true is true. Like, again, like you just think yourself back in the worst of your decisions, whatever they may be. If your female cousin, auntie, mama, sister come and ask you a question about a dude, you're going to keep it straight with them.
100%.
You're not going to tell them, oh, he put his hands on you because you didn't have the food ready when he got home from work. You're going to say straight like, nah, he put his hands on you, but he probably wouldn't talk out of line to a dude the same size as him.
100%.
Cowardly, right?
Yep.
So that was the perspective. But as people came and piled in, and again, I never branded myself because it wasn't about no brand. I just wanted to do what I was doing full time. So
you wouldn't even know it at that point. You don't know how this could grow.
That was not a thing whenever I first started.
Right.
It was like maybe two guys. I think one or two guys that was doing it professionally.
Who was doing that professionally?
I want to say Tony Gaskin was one of the ones, and then a brother by the name of Stefan Speak.
Okay, he's straying away from the whole topic, but that's good that he's getting into his history.
Oh yeah,
they had a thing going on, and I still didn't know their business. So I mean, I didn't know this as a profession. But that was the feedback. But then guys that actually talked to me in real life, we always left the conversation them understanding what I'm saying in full context. So if a woman asks you a question, you're gonna speak to that context.
Yep.
But of course, it's a larger conversation on both sides of the coin.
And when did you start knowing that? When did it click? This can be monetized. Did it happen from your first booking that happened? Somebody said, hey, we want you to come speak at this women's thing about this. You're like, wow, I can get paid for this. How much I charge? $500? What I charge?
Yeah.
What was the first thing that made you say I could get paid for doing what I love doing?
First off, I published my first book, 2013. It was a romance novel, though. There wasn't no advice, 2014, 2015.
What was that called?
A Cheat Man's Heart.
Okay, so that's when you created product.
Yeah. But it was tough to sell because I didn't know how to show the value in it because I ain't had no quotes in it or nothing like that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, speaking. But I was deathly afraid of speaking.
Really?
I got booked for an hour, funny enough, in Mollywop, Montgomery. And I think it was about $400 that I got paid. I had everything up in my mind. I'm going to say it. And I had everything out in 10 minutes. And I had another 50 minutes to go. I was sweating just like I am right now, except I ain't had nothing to say. So I was like, well, speaking probably ain't it. And then I was like, from there, I had to figure out other ways to make money. So, even to this day, my content ain't how I make a living. I have other businesses, but I had to figure out how do I do marketing? How do I do Google Analytics and Facebook and YouTube marketing? How do I do these other things? Because I'm not getting no money. At that time, they didn't have no monetization for Facebook and all that stuff.
Nothing at all.
So if you didn't have a product to sell or if you weren't getting brand deals, you ain't making no money.
Facts.
Yeah.
Did you ever get brand deals?
Not like as a long-term thing. I did a couple of things for like the last OG show and stuff like that.
Yeah, but not like the way it is nowadays where they be like.
I stopped even accepting them because I felt like they would always try to control me. Like my thing is like, I can't be bought. I don't care who like what I'm saying. I don't care the feed. Man, look, I'm going to say the truth. I'm not going to be a sellout. And a lot of times the brands would be like, oh, well, you got to take this video down, especially about the black stuff, pro-black stuff. And I'm like, I'm not taking anything down.
Yep.
If I say.
Okay, so now he's going, I'm about to stop soon because now it's just drifting off outside of the relationship, which is what we came for. And to his business sense and all that stuff, which is fine, but it's not really what we're here for or what I'm here for, I should say. So, yeah.
I love even black women. If I say I love black women, I'm adoring black women. I'm sorry to those whites and non-blacks that get offended, but this is how I feel. So I stopped doing brand deals, and that's why I really learned business so I could be independent with my voice too.
That's real. And so then what initiated the move to Atlanta? You wanted to get closer to your mom, 4 hours drive, that y'all moved together in solidarity, that you say?
We planned it first. We planned it first. She had got a job down there. By this time, I was a full-time entrepreneur, but then we broke up right before we even went down there. We was some making up and breaking up fools. So we went down there separately. She went to stay where she was at in Dunwoody. I forget where I stayed, Dallas, Georgia, something like that. And yeah, this was just another long single season. We had 3 main tries at relationship. One in college, one right after college in North Carolina, and then the one in Atlanta.
And so when you say the single season, how long? I know it's hard to look back at that time. How long were you single and because y'all still never just stopped dealing with each other ever,
No.
So we're not official together, but we still gonna be smashing, meeting up to smash. How long did that season last?
Maybe about a year. I would say this was in, I think it was like the second half of 2015. And then we didn't get together and operate as a couple until Marley was just about here. And that was in 2016, end of 2016. So yeah, she went and did her thing. And from my understanding, not just single, like we smashing, but she was on dates with other guys. Nothing wrong with that. And of course, I was doing what I was doing.
So is this her comedy when she says, me and the girls, she said, I knew, I like having sex with them. We passing each other, men and women passing each other in the hallways. Is that comedy or for real?
I don't know why she said that.
Okay, now we're about to get into the nitty gritty. Now we're getting somewhere at 45 minutes and 27 seconds in. Now we're getting somewhere, because really that's the crux of it. The crux of it is she painted you out to be a player, and you're trying to paint yourself as a romantic. To this day, with everything that's come out, you're still trying to paint yourself as a romantic who found God on February 4th, 2020. So now I want to see how you address this question.
Because I told her a story about 2 girls passing each other. There's no way in heck I would have her, because I know her temper.
No,
you know what I'm saying? I never seen her fight, but I know her temper. She gonna make stuff uncomfortable. No way I would have her around any other woman that I was actually smashing. But there was a situation I told her. So maybe I think as she was talking like us, as everybody who's, sleeping with Derrick. But yeah, there were 2 girls that passed each other up on the staircase, because I never lied. Like, this is what I'm on. I'm single now.
This man just said he never lie.
I'm deep in my whole phase, and I'm gonna win All-American honors in it.
See, that's what I'm talking about. So if you can be 10 toes down and be honest like that, I can't do nothing but respect that, because women say that that's what they desire. They like for a man to be straight up honest, so they'll know how to move accordingly.
Women say they like a lot of stuff, and Derrick Jaxn makes sure that he at least appears to be that thing that he that they like. He's an honest cheater.
And so you're telling me that in that phase, you were straight up like, which she said that it was like that.
There's no perceived relationship. There's none of that. Now, there could have been more etiquette in how I did some of those things.
How? Tell me how you have etiquette.
First off, I thought that was kind of messed up for the girls I had passing each other. I really was in savage mode. And then I think 1 or 2 times Danaia would see like some condom wrappers or something like that. And I'm like, even though we're not together, she may be doing her thing, we know our history and we know the feelings that we got for each other. And especially whenever she got pregnant. We conceived Marley, I think New Year's Eve or what have you, and going into 2016. And, we continued engaging sexually, but she's pregnant now. And then I was still out here doing my thing with whoever, whenever I felt like it, because we were not together.
Right.
And it was well understood. But again, that's kind of whenever she found out through the videos and stuff like that. Now, how she told me she found out, I'm not sure exactly if this is it, but she went and got a new phone. It was logged into my Google Cloud because we had been logged into each other's.
All right, let me see what y'all talking. All right. What is this about? Couldn't find one guy that wouldn't have beaten her. Yeah, this is something worth addressing. I never heard of a white person being offended by black men saying he loves black women, because they're not. Well, see, you got to understand, everything he says and does is to drop panties. Period. Even when they're on their period. Everything he says and does is to drop panties. What he wants to say is that he's braving the storm against white supremacy. Like, no matter how much white people hate me for saying I love black women, I am going to stand on my square and just stand up to these evil white men that don't want black men to love black women. You know, he's trying to give like this romance novel picture of a guy with his hands tied behind his back and a noose around his neck, and it's a burning cross in the black in the background, and you know it's these guys in hoods, and they're saying, you know, do you still love black women? And he says, yes, I do. And then, you know, they move the stool from underneath him, and now he's just like in the tree spinning around, and you know, they're like, you know, any last words with, and then they hit him with the hard ER, and he says, black women, I love you. That's what he's trying to do. You see, I could write a romance novel. that's the picture. Somebody said Django Unzipped. That's the picture that they're trying to create for him. Or he's trying to create for himself.
Email, and that allowed her to see everything. And I'm like, again, I'm kind of freaky. So I was recording a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was just recording a lot of stuff. I like to see it or whatever. I like that better than porn, you know, to TMI. But
you say you like to see yourself.
I like to see myself. I'm inspired by me in that regard. So she saw all of that. And regardless of how she found it, man, I just was like, it's like, what the F am I thinking? She's pregnant and she had to see that. Single or not, she's pregnant and she had to see that.
Let me ask you this. This is something that she said on the podcast or before, whatever. She's been pregnant by you multiple times and didn't conceive, right?
Yeah. We didn't carry.
Right. It didn't carry. And so when you had Marley, that's the first child?
That was the first time we actually had. We had gotten pregnant prior to that in North Carolina, but she miscarried. And then before that were abortions.
Well, definitely. Have my condolences, totally. And so what made you decide, or y'all decide, to give birth to Marley?
Well, early.
Did he just give condolences to misfortunes or to abortions? My condolences to because okay. Here's why you got to listen to like what words mean. People give condolences to living entities that is no longer living. Like when I say, you know, hey, my condolences to Kevin Samuels and his family. You know, my condolences to Ellen Roger Curry. You know, yeah, my condolences. Now, but these were people that have lived. Now, it is debatable on what abortion is. Does it, you know, are you ending an existing life, or are you stopping a life from ever existing? That's a matter of philosophy. It's a matter of legal debate. It's a matter of back and forth that I'm not going to get into. I will say how he views it. He spoke to it as if they are living entities, which means that these are the ones that they together chose to end the existence of living entities. Just saying. And they did it more than once. This is something that they did more than once. Ever notice that the other women didn't get pregnant? Ever notice that? Like, ever notice that he could have like a harem of Lizzo backup dancers, and not one of them get pregnant, but this chick got pregnant like several times? Just saying.
In our years, we were just kids, and we felt like we're being irresponsible if we bring them in, you know, really thinking of ourselves at that time, not thinking about, you know, the God factor or anything like that. So by the time we got to North Carolina.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. The God factor. I forgot about that. Thank you. weren't you this guy that's like in the front row at the church? I'm telling you, this dude is all facade. I was at the front row of the church every single Sunday. You know, I was a little church boy. I was a church boy, and you know, and when I met this goddess of a woman, I decided to pray about it. And when I got this goddess pregnant, I decided to not have a goddess child, or the child of a goddess, but instead I would have an abortion. Nothing is consistent.
Alana, it did take a toll on her, even those experiences. And, you know, for me, my whole stance was, even though we created this together, it's your body that has to carry it. So whatever you want, I'm on. And in North Carolina, we wanted it, but she miscarried. So when Marley came about, it was like, oh, it's game time if we can actually carry. It really wasn't even much of a discussion. The moment we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but the moment she let me know, I told her, you ain't got to do this alone. Like, I hope you know I'm all in.
We wasn't boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were brought together by the child. That is the definition of a trap.
And I was every doctor's visit. I didn't miss one. I told her she didn't have to work and I was going to take on every bill, and I did. So she didn't work from that point until all the way, honestly, until we divorced, or I filed for divorce.
Trap.
But that was my whole mindset.
You said all in was we're in a relationship at this point? Or
no, when I mean all in, I was still not thinking we could work in a relationship. I also had
you're gonna be a present father.
I'm absolutely.
Yeah.
Because probably more than I wanted to be a husband, man. I wanted a family. I wanted to be a dad.
Because of what you were lacking.
But you couldn't have one without the other. So trap.
Growing up.
That was my major pain point.
Yep.
I don't have my daddy. And I remember vividly asking the questions to my mama. She's trying to answer best she can. But feeling away when I saw this and then, I'm like, one day when I get my baby boy, I'm not going to miss anything. So when she told me that, I really got excited, but I also wanted her to know she had my full support regardless of our relationship status. So every gynecologist, I went to the little classes to teach you how to massage her while she on that Pilates ball. Yeah. I was just like, oh, it's game time. I bought books, but we had not sealed up the relationship exactly. So some time passed, and I think we had a little argument where she was like,
oh, this is classic trap. And the problem with this trap, this mating method that a lot of women use, particularly Black women, is that it's not effective. Many guys will do all of this and then still not be with her. Now, the whole purpose is understanding that, you know, okay, I'm pregnant with your child, so you're going to have to spend time with me. And during that time, we're going to, you know, we're going to get back together. That's the hope. And in this particular case, it was successful. And that's because he's walking around with the guilt of his absentee father, you know, in his soul that his mother put there. But at the end of the day, it's a trap.
If you don't be with me or something like that,
I'm not gonna let you be your kid.
I'm gonna take the baby off the grid.
Yep.
And it shook me until I had to talk.
And now she sprung the trap. That is how you spring the trap. Like, okay, you may not love me, but you love this baby. So gotcha, nigga.
Talk about that again, because my mind is, oh, she would never do something like that.
Yep.
But she was like, oh, I was just upset.
She said, I'm gonna take the baby, move with my mom.
Yeah, but she said, I'll be off the grid where you can never even reach me. And I was like, okay, I never heard that before. But anyway, fast forward, it stuck with me, even though she said, I was just talking, I was just upset, you know, my pregnancy emotions. But I also, whenever she had found all that stuff, the videos and stuff, I was just like, man, you got to tighten up. You can't be on this. I don't like the example I'm about to set. At this point, I'm in my career. I'm talking about family values. So I was like, all right, time to cut the whole phase short, time to lock in. And I made my mind up like I'm going to propose to her. I'm going to give her some time to heal everything or whatever. But New Year's Eve. So
she gave you an ultimatum and you fell for it. You knowingly fell for it.
I planned it all out, started paying for the ring. I'm like, it's game time.
Why? Why'd you decide to marry her? What? Because at that point, was it led because of the pregnancy? Was it led out of true love for this woman? Is it led for, like, what initiated and made you say, this is my world that I'm in. I have this platform where I'm sharing this. I have this child coming, but I want to go ahead and marry this woman.
The platform impact was the least of it. With her in that time, even though she was pregnant, she actually was helping me with work a lot. My business was picking up, going crazy. You know, this is the first time, I think it was the first year I made 7 figures. And I'm in my 20s or whatever. And I'm like, I can trust her.
Yeah.
She was with me when I was broke. You know, whatever. It didn't happen over the years, but at least I know she doesn't want me for my money.
Yep.
And she's carrying my baby while helping me at work. If we can make the relationship work, I want to try. And this time, knowing what I know, because now I'm teaching the masses, I'm like, I know how I need to come. I need to secure her in terms of my intentions. Then that's where the marriage part comes in.
Yep.
So she knows I'm not playing no games. I got now the financial pieces there. So she already ain't working, but before Soft Life was cool, I was like, I don't want her to have to worry about anything financially.
Yep, she said that. She
I'm
said
all
that
in.
Financially, she was good.
Yeah, financially, because, you know, another pain point was I saw my mama struggling. And I always felt like if a man was here, she wouldn't be, you know, how she is, tired all the time and gone all the time. So 2 things I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be a present father, and I wanted to take some weight off of my lady's shoulders. And from there, I was like, whatever. I think if I come in and I do my part, the rest is going to fall into place. But it don't work like that. I see, and I had to learn this in therapy, man. Like, as much as we know we cultivate a version of a woman, she exists outside of us.
Oh, of course.
Well, it's easy to say that,
Yeah.
but then when you in it and you know that you're doing this, and this, 'cause it wasn't just financial. If she called me at any time, I don't care. If she wanted me to run to a place and get her some food at 1 or 2 in the morning, it's like whatever. And I'm sitting there billing that into, that's going to produce a certain version of her. But that mindset didn't allow her to experience remaining trust issues with me, postpartum depression.
Oh, yeah.
All of these different things they ain't got nothing to do with how I'm treating her.
Right.
So without considering that, man, I personalized everything going into even the engagement and on forward, man. So yeah, that was my thinking. Like, we gonna make this work no matter what, but we still had not properly set the foundation, reset it from all of the years past.
And when you just
Postpartum depression is something women made up for basically it's a catch-all to anything they do wrong at that time.
decide to marry her, you made up in your mind, I am done with all these women. This is my wife. I'm going to be an honest man that covers my wife properly.
When I made up to just get engaged with her, I had burnt all the bridges.
Oh, you did?
But the thing was, with me, my boundaries were loose at
Explain.
best.
Because
So
people
boundaries
need to
being,
understand, I had bad boundaries when I was married. So I just want to hear what you consider a bad boundary.
so I may have a woman that I slept with before, even in our singleness. I may have a woman I have sexual history with before, and I have no problem carrying on small talk. That's one boundary.
Right.
Going out where I knew somebody else was going to be there, that's a loose boundary. It's like, somebody that you had sexual history with is at this place. There was one situation where a girl that I had some sexual history with, she did some work down in Atlanta, so she was flying in way before she had asked me to give her some books or something like that. And I kept that commitment to meet up with her and give her books instead of telling her or just telling her, no, things have changed since the last time. So these are the types of things that I didn't notice until way later, danaia would see or have whatever and have problem with.
Of course.
Because even if a girl is hitting me up saying, D, my mom loves your stuff. My colleague, is a fan of yours. And I reply like, oh man, thanks. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate that.
Stop it. Just stop it. All of this, he is acting like he got to the part of the story. Okay. After all of this, after this whole, okay, I had a come to Jeebus moment, is when you got caught with some instant thoughts. All of this, I changed when my daughter was born. I decided to be the man my father wasn't, and blah, 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 blah. But you still got caught with your hand in the honey pot. After all this.
Everything as well. Danaia sees that at the corner of her eye, or when she goes to my phone and says he's talking to women.
Yep.
So for somebody who hasn't healed, it's triggering all over again. But in my mind, I ain't smashing these women. For any woman that I'm even having a loose boundary with, I'm curving women 10 times more. So on into engagement, that was the first time I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. Because at this point, man, I done got her books. I got a therapist because I'm not getting the version of her I think I'm supposed to get. I'm faithful. I'm provisional. I'm still asking about what we can do to fill up her love tank, but she's hostile. She's closed off. At times, she's emasculating with how she talks. Of course, the sex is not even close to being there. And then she said, well, we need to go to counseling.
That's why I'm glad you went right there. Then what happened in counseling? Because that's where she said she revealed, this is before y'all got married, right? And this is where she revealed I had been raped before, right? In this counseling session, that this happened. When did she mention that she had saw stuff in your phone and all that stuff? Was that in this counseling session?
No, she already had told me in real life she had saw the stuff, but this is where we're going to deep dive through all those things. And at first I was reluctant, I ain't gonna lie to you, man, because it's like, why is the relationship only in trouble when you're unhappy? Why is it that I've been telling you stuff, I'm not getting what I need, I'm paying for personal trainers to help fix your self-esteem so you can get back in shape, I'm paying for the therapist, the books, the podcast, I'm doing everything, rubbing feet, backs, everything, and it's not enough, and I'm hurt by that, but then whenever you feel upset, now you're ready to save the relationship. So I was reluctant at first, I ain't gonna lie, but I'm like, I'm engaged now, we got a little baby, let's do this. Let's go to
was already
counseling.
born at this point?
Yeah, Marley's already there. She was there like maybe 8 months old. She was very young. And then the counselor, and this was kind of really made it tough for me to continue on, he immediately went into rescuer mode. Danaia is a lot better at accessing her emotions, especially painful emotions, than I ever have been. So me and her together, I'm big and I'm extroverted. I can talk a little bit. She's a soft voice and, just looked like she just been held in a basement or something like that. So we going and talking, and immediately she goes in about all the hard things I had done in the previous relationship. So me, ignorant, I never considered all the previous, because I'm like, hold on, in between time we single, you've been dating. Yeah. I'm thinking especially because she got her lick back. Yeah. She got her lick back. And I mean, call me what you want, bro. I still feel to an extent. Once you get your lick back and you even the score, we even. I don't want to. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you went and one of the guys, and I don't know if she slept with him or nothing like that, but it was one of my homies. She knowingly did this. I did that to make you upset. She went for guitar lessons and learned everything she needed to know in one night. But I was like, okay, well, my chest hurt just.
She slept with one of the homies. She didn't tell that story when she was on the thing. She told the story about the time she was deliberately trying to make dude jealous. But she went and slept with one of the homies. Okay.
Like you say, learned everything you need to know one night.
But I'm like, you wasn't bad for doing that. Anybody would be, first off, on timing. Then secondly, to make me, my chest hurt just like hers did. Yeah. All right, cool. So when we in this counseling session, back to here, 2017, she going in, and I'm in the present of all the things I've been doing. It's the first time I've come this hard for the relationship ever. And, financial aspect and the security. I got down on one knee. I can't do no more than what I've done. But she talking about me like I'm a dog. And the only thing that exists is all the negatives. I ain't done a single positive, So he not only allowed her to say that, he said, now you got this hard voice with me already. I ain't even said nothing. You don't say a word. Not until y'all come back on another session. So it was tough because I'm like, man, my feelings are obsolete the moment that.
You mean he treated you like you treat every black man who you talk about to black women? That's essentially what happened. He entered the situation with the therapist entered the situation with the understanding that you are wrong because you are the man. And she's right because she's the woman. That sounds exactly like you.
She talked. And she crying and everything. So I get it. But I'm like, man, this ain't it for somebody who already deals with shame, wounds, abandonment, all this other stuff. We did do like one more session. And in that time, I found out she was texting a personal trainer under a woman's name. She had been searching them on Facebook. She had lied about some other stuff. So after that, bro, and she went and said some things that weren't true in the counseling. I didn't even want to go no more.
You just say, I'm not going.
No, because I felt like, you're not even approaching this genuinely. And at this point, I was questioning if I wanted to go through with the marriage.
I was about to ask you. So y'all still, but you didn't end the engagement.
Didn't end anything. A big repetitive pattern of I'm pissed, I'm detached, I'm mentally checking out. I'm gonna show up as a worse version of myself, but I ain't letting you go. So that's a little bit of ego. It's a little bit of abandonment wounds, whatever you want to call it. We both didn't let each other go, no matter how much we was detaching.
That's interesting. I wanna stop part one right here because when we come back, I want to talk about when y'all decide to go through with the marriage and then what happened.
Okay, perfect. She's stopping part one, and that's perfect because I'm at the 2-hour mark, and I'm actually about to go over and watch Chantel's coverage of this story. So here's my schedule. So I'm about to go over and watch Chantel's, and because it's going to be an open panel, I may stop by there. Then after that, I'll be at Sweet Melody Speaks for the Grown and Sexy show, where they're also going to talk about this. So yeah, look forward to seeing y'all in both places. Yeah, and this is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace.